Hey, what's going on to my ReLeader family? Coming at you again with a ReLeader podcast. And I need to apologize right out of the gate. I have not done a podcast in a really long time, and I'm trying to get back in the rhythm of doing this, guys. I went to a conference, I've been to a couple of conferences and did some ReLeader content at a leadership conference in Arkansas, and just heard so many people. I love your podcast. And so I felt this embarrassment that I haven't been doing it. So I'm back. Here's a podcast, and I'm actually sending you some love to my friend Pastor Nick Floyd in Arkansas. Look, Nick, if you're watching the YouTube of this, you got to pull up the YouTube, not just the audio. I am repping Cross Seminary for my man Pastor Nick at Cross Church in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Got to go out and spend some time with him on a couple of occasions, and he started a brand new seminary called Cross Seminary. So I'm just giving you some love right now. I love you, Pastor Nick. Thanks for all that you've done, man, for me, and it's an honor to help you guys out. So, all right, today we're going to talk about, actually I'm going to do a session today, a podcast today on something I talked about at Pastor Nick's leadership conference. All right, so let's go. Today we're going to talk about stopping. You go to most conferences, leadership conferences, you've had a conversation with somebody, and a lot of times we go back to our business, our ministry, our church, and we think we got to go back and start something. I've actually found, and I wish I would have known this coming in as a young ReLeader, because I felt like this pressure that I had to start something that would cause momentum or growth or whatever. But 11 years in, I'm realizing that some of the most impactful things I did in ReLeading wasn't anything I started. It was actually something I stopped. So think about this Michelangelo. Michelangelo crafted a statue. It's a very famous statue. It's the one of King David. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you've seen the awkward statue of this naked, weird white statue of a man, right? And you're like, that's awkward. Why are we have a naked man statue? That's King David. And so what makes this so special is that it was carved out of one solid piece of marble. So one chisel, one tiny little chisel at a time, sanding it down, the rough edges smooth. And later on somebody was having a conversation with Michelangelo, and it's been whatever the word is, written down, this quote that he had when they asked him about it. And this is what he said. I'll read it to you. He said, every block of stone has a statue inside it, and it is the task of the sculptor to discover it. And all I did was chip away what didn't belong. So there's this type of art. It's called subtractive art. And, most art, or a lot of art, I'm not artistic at all, but you're adding something, right? You have a blank canvas and you're adding something to the blank canvas to create art. There's also another type of art called subtractive art. And this would be an example of subtractive art. You're taking things away, and as you take things away, you're revealing something beautiful that was there all along. I think that a massive part of ReLeading is subtractive art. And there's just a part of ReLeading that you really have to lean into. What are some things you need to stop doing? And that's really what I want to talk to you about in this episode, is the power to stop. The power to stop. We may do more episodes of this. I don't know. Let's just see how far we get today. All right. So what is it that you might need to stop doing? Okay. As the leader. Now, you may not be a ReLeader. Maybe you started your company, but you're seeing that you're plateauing. You're seeing that you're going to need to make some shifts. And, what got you to $1 million in revenue may not get you to 20 million in revenue. And the teams that you got today may not be the teams that get you tomorrow. And so there's times where you just have to stop. And I think one of the greatest things you might ever do as a ReLeader is not what you add. Okay. It's not a system you add, not a policy you add. It might be something you stop doing. It might be something you take away. And, I know we have a lot of we may have non-believers that listen to this podcast, and that's fine. I'm super pumped that you do. my context will always be, in pastoral leadership, or really not even pastoral leadership, just Christ-like leadership. That's something that I value and hold dear. So let's look at, hang on. Let me just find a Bible real quick. I know I got a Bible around here somewhere. Let me just read you a passage, all right? In John, hang on a second. If you're listening to the audio of this, I'm sorry. I'm flipping open a Bible right now. All right, John 15. Think about this as like a theme verse for what we're talking about here. This is Jesus' words in John 15. He says, "I am the true vine, and my Father is the vine dresser. Every branch in me that does not bear fruit, he takes away. And every branch that bears fruit, he prunes, so that it may bear more fruit." That's such a good verse. But it's also a terrifying verse. So basically what it's saying is either way you get cut. Either way you get cut. That's not fun. So if I'm not bearing any fruit, cut. That one's kind of easy as a leader, right? Like if something's not bearing fruit, you cut it. If you have a product that's not bearing fruit, you cut it. You have a staff member that's not bearing fruit, you cut it. You have a system, you have a policy, you have a mentality, whatever it is. If it's not bearing any fruit, you stop doing it. I mean, that's a no-brainer. But the one that gets me more than anything, and the one that's the hardest to do as a leader, it says, every branch in me that does bear fruit, he prunes it for a reason, so that it will bear more fruit. So it forces me as a leader to think through the lens of, okay, maybe there's some things in my organization that are bearing fruit, but still needs to be cut, still needs to be pruned or cut back. So let's unpack some of that as leaders and think about what that could mean for us as leaders. Okay, so if that's true, if what I just said is true, which it's in the Bible, so if you're a believer, we see that as truth. Then pruning isn't punishment. Okay, that means pruning isn't punishment. It means it's preparation. Now think about that. If we're pruning, he says every branch in me that does bear fruit, he prunes, he cuts it back so that it will produce more fruit. So the act of cutting something, the act of stopping something that's actually fruitful isn't a bad thing. It's not punishment. It's preparation for something else. Okay, so what are some things that can mean for us? So maybe your context is you're a leader and your calendar is just jam-packed and you have no margin on your calendar. But your calendar is full of good things, right? They're not bad things, but maybe you're supposed to go into a season of pruning your calendar. What are some things in your calendar that you need to prune? Not to punish you, but to actually create margin for something more important in your calendar. Maybe you need to cut. Okay, here's one. This cuts me deep. Maybe I need to reassess how many boards I serve on. Like maybe I need to prune that back. Then none of them are bad. It's great to serve on a board, but what am I doing that's keeping me from being able to do other things? So basically, the rhythm is cutting into something that's good to make room for something that's great. Okay, in my context as a pastor, maybe I need to not preach 45 times a year out of 52. Maybe I need to preach like 35. Maybe I need to preach 32. And what if I could preach 30 really, really, really life-changing sermons or 45 decent sermons? So you're thinking through those kind of rhythms. What are some things in your life that you need to prune to make room? So that's the challenge to you. What does God want you to prune? And I can't answer that question for you. Only you can answer that question for yourself. Another thing to process through in this idea is what do you need to stop? Okay, and to realize here's the mentality shift that stopping isn't quitting. Okay, stopping isn't quitting. It's trusting God for something else, for more. So think about textually in the Bible, in Exodus, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law, comes to him and basically says, "Hey, what are you doing, man? You're worn out." I think it's in Exodus 18, if you want to read it. And he comes to him and says, "What are you doing, man?" And Moses is like, "Hey, all the people come to me and I judge for the people. It's my job. I'm doing a good thing. That's not a bad thing. It's a good thing." And Jethro actually says, what you're doing is not good. And interestingly enough, what Jethro tells Moses is you're going to wear yourself out. But what's wild is he said you're going to wear the people out. And that's interesting, right? Like that we could do things as leaders that we become the bottleneck, and it becomes exhausting for the people that work for us, not just us. Like you're exhausted because you're doing things you shouldn't be doing, but you're also exhausting people around you because you are the bottleneck. You are the problem. And so he challenges him, find leaders of 10s and 50s and 100s and delegate. He tells them to delegate. So what he's telling him to do is stop, freaking stop. What are you doing? Stop what you're doing. And just because what you've done and the systems you've created for the past 10 years has worked for 10 years doesn't mean it's working now. And there's rhythms of that, right? And God gives you grace for certain seasons to get things up and going. But there does come a time where it's time to shift. It's time to stop. It's time to delegate. So I like what Pastor Craig says. Pastor Craig says, what are you doing? Let's say a scale of 1 to 10 on how well you do something. If you can do it at a 9, and there's somebody below you that can do it at a 6 or a 5, and you just can't because you're a perfectionist, what if they could become a 7 or an 8? And if they can become a 7 or 8, then you need to delegate it and let them do it. Just let them do it. I got a great quote by Peter Drucker. Peter Drucker said, there is nothing so useless as doing efficiently what shouldn't be done at all. And there are times I think that leaders do this, right? We do something very efficiently, but we shouldn't even be doing it. Like you can do it really, really well, but that doesn't mean you should be doing it. You need to delegate that to somebody else. Letting go of control. Okay, I got an example. I brought this up at a ReLeader roundtable I did, which was awesome, by the way. And we'll do those more in the future, and you should come to the next one. But we talked about Sabbath and stopping, the importance of stopping. Like Sabbath literally means cease. Like just stop for 1 second. And when we say we're taking a Sabbath, we're stopping, but really what we're saying is this is not punishment. This is actually me trusting the Lord, right? Sabbath means I trust God, that God can do more in 6 days than I can do in 7. So there's something in your life that he wants you to stop doing. And what he's saying, you need to quit doing it. And it's not quitting. It's actually trusting. Okay, so we're going to trust other people and we're going to trust the Lord. Okay. What are we at? 12 minutes. Let's keep going. Okay. Now let's talk about something that I'm not very good at, that I'm trying to get better at. Okay. Let's talk about saying no. Okay. I am learning that saying no is actually one of the wisest things I could ever do. Simultaneously, it's the hardest thing. It's so hard. Now I know in leadership, it's hard to say no for all leaders. I think it's particularly hard for pastors to say no, especially to congregants, right? Because if we say no to congregants, then we're being a jerk and we don't love our sheep and we're not being a good pastor. So this is really, really complicated and challenging. And I'm trying to learn the rhythms of this, of trying to get better at saying no. When Warren Buffett said, the difference between successful people and very successful people is that very successful people say no to almost everything. I'm not very good at this, honestly, but we can get better at setting boundaries. Okay. And what I like to tell people is you will train people how to treat you. You are training them how to treat you. When they text you and you reply right back, you're training them how to treat you. When you reply to an email immediately, so take Sabbath, for example. If you get a text on the Sabbath, you get an email on your Sabbath, you shouldn't reply. You shouldn't reply because you're training them. And so what I do is I'll wait a day to reply. And I do love the delayed text messaging now on iPhones because I can text it now and set it to not send until tomorrow. I love that feature. And what I'll say the next day is, hey, thanks so much. Sorry I missed your text yesterday. Fridays are my Sabbath. And so I'm just now getting back with you. So even in that text message, I'm training them how to treat me. I'm training them how to treat me. And we can get better at this, training people how to treat us. So we don't need more, we need margin. And the only way to get margin is to say no. Okay. So just practice it. You should just practice saying no right now. Say no out loud. No. Feels good, doesn't it? So we're going to learn to say no. We're going to learn to stop. And one of the best ways you can learn to stop is to say no. You're going to say no to ideas. We got to be leaders that know what our organizations are about. And don't be a leader that every idea that comes across your desk, you're like, yeah, let's try it. No, let's not. No. Come on, say it again. Say no. No, I am not available for lunch. No, I am not available for coffee. No, I can't work after 5 o'clock because I'm going home to be with my family. So learn to say no. All right, we're going to stop. Last but not least, let's talk about less. Ooh, this is a good one. All right. So this is something that's really cross-cultural that you may not like. Okay. So let me talk to you about the idea that less isn't loss. Less isn't loss. Listen, I'm all about growth. I'm all about numbers. I'm all about success. But there is something in the American culture, particularly, it's even in the church. I mean, it's rampant in the church. And it's the idea that if I'm not growing, I'm dying. And if it's not more, I'm failing. And I just think I want to be careful here because I'm all about success. I want your business to grow. I want your church to grow. But we have to get this out of our mind that less is somehow a loss or that less is somehow failing. There's this passage where Jesus, it's in John chapter 6, okay, towards the end of John chapter 6, and Jesus is kind of sharing with all of his disciples, the masses, and he's saying, hey, eat my flesh and drink my blood. Eat my flesh, drink my blood. And the Bible says that people left, okay. Hold on, I got my Bible open right now. Let me just read it. Okay, so in verse 66, so right before this, he's saying, eat my flesh, drink my blood. And he makes it sound like literally. Now you know what that sounds like? That sounds like a cult. So people are like, they're freaking out. They're like, we gotta get out of here. This is weird. And in verse 66, it says, as a result of this, many of his disciples withdrew and left, and they ceased walking with Jesus. Okay, so they literally left. Okay. Verse 67, Jesus said to the 12, you do not want to go away too, do you? So Jesus looked straight at his 12. He's like, hey, y'all want to go too? Y'all want to go too? And Peter's like, no, we can't go. You're the Messiah, yada, yada. So Jesus didn't chase these people down. Hey, I was just kidding. I'm just speaking metaphorically. I'm kidding. Don't worry about it. Don't freak out. No, he let him go. He let him go. And he had less. Think about Gideon, the Gideon principle. He had 32,000 soldiers. God's like, nope, we're going to do less. Whittled it all the way down to 300. And God did more with 300 than what Gideon could have done with 32,000. And listen, I'm not saying you should try to shrink your business. I'm not saying you should try to shrink your church. But I do think that what keeps us from stopping and what keeps us from saying no is we're afraid of less. We're afraid of less customers, less money, less influence, whatever the case may be. And don't let the fear of less keep you from stopping what you know you need to stop. Okay. I pastor what would be considered a mega church, but I would rather be healthy and whole and happy with a church of 200, right? Like I want to do this for a long time. And I got to learn. And I'm like, listen, I'm preaching to the choir. I'm preaching to the mirror, I should say. I'm trying to get better at this. I'm trying to find the rhythms of this myself, of knowing what to stop and how to stop it and how to do it with grace and how to love people through those challenges. So here's my challenge to you, okay? Jim Collins wrote a great book called Good to Great. And in that book, he talked about, and this is our challenge, I'm challenging you with, you've heard of to-do lists, things you need to do, things to start, things to go and accomplish. He challenges the reader, and the listener in this case, to create a stop doing list. Stop doing list. I'm challenged by this. And here's the thing. It might not be anything tangible you need to stop. It may be something mentally you need to stop. Like you may need to stop thinking a certain way. You may need to stop thinking through shame, or you may need to stop thinking that you're nothing, or you may need to stop thinking that it's all about money or growth, or So it may be something internally that you need to stop. It may be something emotionally that you need to stop. You need to stop letting fear grip you. You need to stop letting anxiety get the best of you. I don't know what it is for you, but I promise you, there is something you need to stop. Stop. So I got a parting question for you, and then we'll dismiss. I may do another session on this, another podcast on this or not. I don't know. I'm trying to get something posted because it's been so long. Okay. So if God told you today, okay, that the next season of fruit in your ministry would only come if you were willing to stop something else, what would you be willing to lay down? Okay, so let me just kind of say this more organically. If God came to you in a dream tonight and said, I will give you the desires of your heart. I'm ready to bring your next blessing. I'm ready to give it to you. I'm ready for fruit to come in your ministry. But the next season of fruit will only happen if you prune current fruit. All right, that's the question. God's going to bring you new fruit, new wine, all right? But he'll only do it if you prune what is currently fruitful in your life. That's the challenge. Think through that, process it, put it in your journal, write it out. What is God challenging you to stop? All right, that's it. Hey, like this, share it, give me a comment, post it on social media. Help me get the word out on this thing. I'm going to try to make a commitment to do better at posting more podcasts. I'm so sorry that I've been a loser, and I'm excited to get these fired back up and email me. I would love to hear from you. Honestly, if this podcast is helpful to you, if you have subjects that you would like me to talk on, I'm just going to give you my email address. Are you ready? It's jc@releader.co. jc@releader.co. RELEADER.co. You can also go to ReLeader.co, the website, and it's just a Substack page. I write on there. I love to write, and I'll try to continue doing some of that. So love you. Thank you so much for checking out today's episode. Until next time.